So let me ask you then. You talked about, being replaced, that maybe the second law won't lead to our death because we can always fix the errors that are made. All those errors, mistakes are made, you get cancer, you get heart disease, whatever. If we could fix all those, would we want to live forever?
I certainly wouldn't. So again, put aside the second law of thermodynamics, because then we have to jump into some other universe. But if God were to say to me, if God were to come down and say to me, Shelly, you must choose right now between dying right now or living forever, and you can't take it back, then my answer is I'd rather die right now. And that's a surprising position, I think, for a lot of people. They think, well, of course, immortality is desirable. Many people believe in a soul, if only because it holds out the hopes of immortality. And again, whoever's handling the sound, there's a lot of feedback and echo. If you can turn it down, that would be helpful. Yeah, but now I'll talk and I'll start. Oh, that's better. I think it's striking that most religions, even when they posit an afterlife, don't give a lot of details. Because if you start filling in the details, you immediately find yourself thinking, really, I'm going to have to do this forever? That doesn't seem very appealing. And so what I invite my students in the death class to do is just fill in the details any way you want. Whatever the future is that you want, with whatever resources, whatever science fiction possibilities, can you even so much as imagine for yourself a kind of life, and you can cycle through different things that you would literally want to do forever? I think the answer is no. Eventually, I certainly don't want to die soon, but I think eventually I'd get bored. But then I've been locked into forever. And the thing about forever is, forever is forever, right? You're not talking about 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000,000 years. You're talking about infinity. That strikes me as it would, however good it was initially, it would eventually turn into something unbearable. And so again, if I had to choose this moment, I'd say end it now. What I'd prefer is, a week to say goodbye to my family. But if I had to end it right now, I'd end it right now rather than being locked into immortality, no matter what immortality was going to be like.
So for the sake of conversation, I'm going to disagree here, and then I have a question for you about this. So the disagreement would be this. It would depend on the conditions under which you'd be able to live forever. So I agree with the standard objections that say something like tedium or boredom would set in if we were basically to continue on in a life like this one forever. And I think the best arguments against something like immortality are arguments against immortality in conditions that are sufficiently similar to the ones we live in now, right? But I do think there are intimations of something like infinity or transcendence or something like this, and they happen in the context of relationships. So I think you sometimes use the example of if I'm offered a piece of chocolate cake, I'll say, oh, thank you. And then second piece and third piece and fourth piece. Sure, diminishing marginal utility on these kinds of chocolate cake seem obvious. But my wife just had our little baby, Julian. She's 10 months old. And there seems, maybe this is too anecdotal to be permissible here, but we'll go for it. There seems a kind of infinity in her. She changes every day. And in her changing, I change. And she expands my capacities for imagination and love, delight and enjoyment. So it seems like whatever the kind of perpetuation of our life is going to be like, it has to be in relationships with other kinds of people. And I think then this is one plausibility enhancer of something like the Christian view of the afterlife, where the view is that God is personal or tripersonal, and so the primary task of the afterlife is going to be some kind of friendship with an infinite person forever. The kind of friendship that actually expands your capacities for enjoyment. Augustine prays in the Confessions, "O Lord, the house of my soul is too small for you. Expand it." And it seems to me like expanding the soul is actually something that's comprehensible even in this life. So I ran by the Met yesterday, and one of the fascinating features about the Met is that, maybe this happened to you when you were growing up, a great number of teachers seem to want to coerce their 7-year-old students to go through the Met and see all this stuff. And they're bored out of their noggins, right? We might want to say, okay, well, are they right in being bored out of their noggins in the Met? Or is it a kind of unappreciativeness. Would it be possible if they actually underwent some kind of transformation by which they could appreciate these pieces of art that they're enjoying? Actually, they might want to stay for longer. And in fact, it's the people that we find most admirable, the kind of connoisseurs of a given excellence, that find the most granular beauty enjoyment in whatever it is that they're enjoying.